So yeah, I guess as an intro to this, the idea is really just to have some conversations with clinicians on campus, but also I think maybe even eventually other staff. Today we're meeting with Jane LeBlanc, one of our counselors and the assistant director for the Counseling Services Center on campus. My name is Kyle Dzintars. I'm the outreach coordinator and clinician at the Counseling Center as well. And I think really I just wanted to be able to have some information going around about some of the things that are common with our experience right now and things that might be helpful or unhelpful, depending on like our current situation. So today, I know Jane and I briefly talked a little bit before this, but it's really just to focus on this idea of productivity or what the expectation for what life is like in this state of the world. So I know something you had mentioned before was just, I mean, really having a way to assess what we're capable of at this point, and then what are the outside influencers or expectations that are going on.
Yeah. I wrote some things down about the duality of life during this COVID-19. And then I took that from Brown Girl therapy. So, but it's all based on acceptance and commitment therapy. And one of the principles was that you can grieve little things that have been taken away from you, but you can also recognize that it's a privilege to do so. So me, you know, I can complain about all these things or that I don't have or I can't do, but thankfully I'm in a safe place in which to be okay during this, you know, when I know that some of my students and some of my friends may not be in the same place, have access to the same kinds of things that I do going forth. And so to remember that is important. So when you do have, acknowledge that you do have, we can do both of those things. You can stay informed about all of the updates and watch all the news like a friend of mine does, is like COVID-19 everything. And I think that kind of fuels anxiety, but for some people it also helps lessen the anxiety because they think they know about it. But you also have to recognize you can turn that off and you can choose to take a break from it. And that's the duality of that information as well.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen so much about even just setting a time limit to how much you are able to take in so that you're still getting the information you need to feel comfortable, that you know where things are, where things stand, but also being able to shut it off because too much of that becomes easily overwhelming and just consuming.
It does. And then, you know, our body responds in weird ways that we're not privy to sometimes. So that anxious feeling or you have that sense of dread or your heart's beating faster, it could just be all this input, whether good or bad, but it's all about what's going on right now. And I think, you know, depending on what station you watch, they try to spin different things too. Like you should be doing this, you should be doing that. It's their fault, it's this fault, you know, that kind of stuff. So having the ability to turn it off is really important, but also staying informed. So there's that duality there.
Yeah. I like the idea of these dualities too, because I think there are pros and cons to every experience as we're going through this. And I think sometimes it's hard to sort through that, even to know like there is some sense of balance, being able to, accept what you feel and how you're dealing with it. And then also know that there are things that maybe can be more helpful or can be done a little bit differently. So it's kind of even that duality of like being kind to yourself, like you're getting through this global pandemic, something that's major that we've never experienced before. And then there are also like places where things might be able to be different and more helpful.
Right. One of the things when you first asked me to do this, I was focusing on the sense of productivity and what was that about. But one of the dualities on this site, the Brown Girl therapy site for the ACT, was you can feel bad for not being productive right now. But you can also know it's okay not to have the capacity for anything more than you are doing. And that's really, really important for our students, I think, too, and our coworkers that, you know, I shared with you earlier that in a couple of weeks, my schedule's pretty bare. I don't have as many students on there, and I feel this need to reach out more and more and more and find ways to reach out and say, we're open for business. Please call us. We want to talk to you. But students are in different places. So I need to chill on that and not feel like I'm not earning my paycheck by not seeing students or not doing something, because I'm always rolling with things for work, and you're always doing a lot of things with outreach. So if you're not seeing students, we need to be able to also give ourselves a break while we continue to do other things.
Definitely. I think there's like this regrouping in some ways that's kind of taking place right now. Like we've all just experienced this major, huge change that none of us were prepared for and none of us expected to happen. So I almost feel like over the last couple of weeks, I think the major complaint that I've heard from students, both that I'm working with clinically, but then also even in the classroom, has been they don't feel like they have the motivation to continue doing stuff, which in some ways is like understandable. I mean, we're adjusting to something major, and none of the foundation has been set or established yet. I mean, this is the first day that I'm starting to feel like more settled about stuff, where I don't have that like anxiety of like, am I doing enough? Is this okay? What should I be doing more? So I think we're all kind of at different stages of that as well.
Well, you use the word foundation, and that kind of reminds me of, I remember when the earthquake in Haiti happened. And because we're all counselors, I just remember there was this big push and big pull for art therapy techniques. And art therapists to go down and work with traumatized children and families. And it was always my thought that like, well, wait a minute, that's great, that's altruistic, it's going to be helpful, but not yet. Because if you think about foundation and Maslow's hierarchy, we need basic securities first: food, clothing, shelter. I have all those things. Some of my students do not. Some of the people in our rural communities or even urban communities do not. So when this was coming down on campus, we literally had 2 days to decide. The president had a very few days to decide, you're going to leave and you're not coming back. And so it was 2 days for students to decide, well, what can I do? What's going to be safe? What's going to be secure? How will I get food? You know, whose couch am I sleeping on for some of them? Can I stay here and still have access to things? That was huge. And then thankfully they did have a week to settle into that, but then we started the telelearning, the e-learning. And I think even that was really soon for our faculty and students. So we're still at the food, clothing, and shelter level. Maybe safety and security, that's that next one on Maslow's. And then after that, we can look at being productive. That's what, you know, so we're kind of going the wrong way. And maybe I guess that's where I'm asking for a little bit of humility, a little bit of kindness from people, from professors even. You know, your students are not on campus in a safe, secure space. They when they're here, they know what they're eating. They know how they're getting to A and B, or how their family's doing. And now it's just, wow, it's all, we're still in that chaotic space. So give it some time.
Yeah, and I think hearing some of the stories, because I mean, just holding even classroom conversation of like, all right, what is everyone's home life like right now? Like, what are you dealing with that you weren't dealing with before? I mean, the number of students who are now caregivers to either sick family members or taking care of children that are in the household that they didn't have to once do prior to this. It just becomes like, that is their, okay, we're just establishing like a secure environment where things are kind of taken care of. So yeah, I mean, it's easy at that point, at least from my perspective, to see like classwork as being like the last consideration, because all of this stuff matters so much. It's survival. It's just trying to feel secure, safe, grounded first.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but the clients that I have seen thus far, you know, at the college, we're working on goals and implementing those interventions for those goals. And now we've kind of gone backwards a little bit, and it's venting about, how are you doing? Do you have A, B, and C? Anything that you have to troubleshoot? We provide resources for those basic needs, those kinds of things. And it's kind of like we had to step back, reassess, and now we can move forward.
Yeah. Yes. It was strange because I almost feel like we were just trying to take the template of how things were and apply it to the new situation. But
Yeah.
it does. I mean, we didn't have the same starting point in that way. So it is. I've also gotten that sense too, even just like with conversations with other people of, all right, maybe this is the time to kind of like slow that down. We don't have to have the same rush to keep everything as busy as it was because things are busy in a different way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have to be creative in how we're meeting students' needs, and I think we're trying our best to do that. And if any students are watching this, or faculty, staff, even if you have any other ideas for outreach or ways in which we can assist, please let us know. We will do that. That's important. Going back to my duality, the other one was making sure that you have space where you can be scared and anxious about what's going on, but that you also find moments of pleasure and joy. Whether that's, you know, doing some self-reflection of things that you hope for. I've heard some people have suggested making a video log or writing a letter to yourself 3 months from now, like, what is it that you hope transpires and that you've experienced out of this? That's good and bad, perhaps, but so that you can reflect on that later. But creating space so that you can find joy. And one of my favorite things is John Krasinski's new Some Good News video.
Oh yeah.
I wish he'd do it more often. He just did one today. Did you see it?
No, not yet.
Manuel and the cast of Hamilton sang one of their main songs for
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was so
That's awesome.
and then I hear like Britney Spears, I don't know, my son told me this, is I don't know how you reach her, but if you need something, she said, let me know. And she's taking
Oh wow.
Britney Spears rocks.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's some really cool stuff out there. I got a letter from my neighbor girls in our mailbox. I think I shared that with you guys.
Oh yeah.
That had a whole bunch of hearts and said, hope you're doing well and take care during this pandemic or something like that. But it was really cute, really cute. So you got those joyful things too.
Yeah, just, I mean, having some sense of like balancing in that as well. I mean, it's very easy to get caught up in some of the stuff that's going on that's not great or doesn't feel right and adjusted. And I think even just to make space for all of that to be okay. So like you said, I mean, I love the idea of having even like a time or a space to allow for some of those feelings to just be, whether that's like the anxiety around everything or the stress of dealing with all of these changes and trying to find new stuff to manage. I think even just allowing it in, it helps us to build like our tolerance and our resilience for those emotions. Like we know
it
sure
get
does. Through hard times.
Yeah, I do Facebook because I'm an oldie, or I'm older. Sometimes I go on there myself and I think, oh, there's so much information about this. I'm tired of seeing it, or negative stuff. And I thought, you know what? This is one of the only places right now for people to share the good, bad, and ugly. Now, I do love the good, but the bad and ugly reminds me again that I am in a place that I guess a place of privilege, yes, but also that I'm lucky that I'm okay right now. So it reminds me to be humble about where I am and then also what some of our students and neighbors need. So, I backed off that thought on, gosh, people, don't put this on Facebook because there's so much of me that wants to do that too. I want my own therapist, my own Facebook therapist. It's like,
I know.
Temperature came up again today. I thought I was done, but I don't put that on there, but I want to.
Right.
I want to commiserate just as much as I want to be joyful with others. So
definitely. Yeah.
I'll save it for the staff meeting.
There you go. You have a space for it. Yeah, no, I think that's true. And I mean, I think that's part of our conversation, and even just like to the campus community in general. I think we want people to know like we have resources to offer as well in those places, especially if you're struggling with some of that. I think we have enough people on our campus who are very open and willing to be helpful to people who haven't been able to settle or feel like they have that sense of security yet with their resources. So I think that is a good place to at least start with.
Should we review those?
Sure. I mean, we can go over that.
So even if you're in the residence halls, you can contact our food pantry, shop, S-H-O-P, at oswego.edu. They have, they have lots of things that are microwavable that you might find yummy or better than nothing. But they probably, there's some good things in there too. You can get creative with your food. They have a lot of beans and proteins in cans and bags for those of you that are vegetarians. So again, rice and beans is not something you want every day unless you're my husband, but it's an option, and it's something different than the 3 meals from the dining hall if you want something to sustain you in between, or those late night snacks that you can't get anymore. So there's that. And you can also contact the dean's office if you're having trouble with something financially, like a bill you can't pay perhaps, but you need to show need, and you need to be able to show that you've been paying on this. So some kind of paper bill kind of thing. I'm not sure of all of the limitations or of what they can do, but do you know how they contact them?
I think that they can just email the office directly, or I think they can just call directly and be connected.
Okay.
I know.
And I don't know what that is right now, so.
Yeah, I don't have it on.
But the Dean of Students office, yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Internet access. I know a lot of internet providers are offering either free internet or reduced rates for internet services if you're in an area that's struggling to have that, or if you just can't afford it, don't have access to it.
Right, our local in Oswego is Spectrum. And I think Spectrum is throughout New York too. So I think Spectrum's offering that. Any other internet providers that were?
What was the one? I think the one down, is it Comcast? It's downstate?
Perhaps.
I think that might be Comcast.
Okay. Zoom might have been doing some things for students. I'm not sure.
Yes, so actually they just changed their free services. So now there isn't a time limit for using Zoom for just free meetings. Okay. So you don't have to pay for an account right now if you need access to setting something up.
Good. And you know what? Don't assume that your landlord or your facilities like electric and heat are going to slap you with a late date. Call them, let them know what's going on, ask them what they're doing during this time. And sometimes if you make a good faith effort to pay on a bill, like if your bill's 100 and you pay 20, you're good. You're staying in good status, especially during this time. So don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Call those folks. It might take a while, but trying to do that would be good practice. And I think everybody wants to help each other. So try it.
Definitely. Yeah, I know a lot of places are doing somewhat like delayed billing right now. Like there isn't this rush to get all of your payments in on time. And even like you said, those small payments can be enough sometimes. So just having the conversation or like reaching out to see who's being flexible and how.
Right. And as we find out more information or resources, we will make sure that we put that on our Instagram account or these videos or on our website as well.
Yep. So if you want to keep up to date, you can follow us on Instagram. It's mindful_Oz, mindful_Oz, OZ. And then also on our website, which is oswego.edu/CSC, or counseling services.
Hey, do you want to talk about Discord?
Oh yeah, I can talk about Discord. So in an effort to keep the campus somewhat united and connected during this, as we're all kind of isolated in our own spaces, we've been exploring the free app called Discord. It's just like a server that you can log onto, and it has a variety of channels that are dedicated to group chats. It's essentially a large group chat for different topics. So we've been using it to promote some expressive art activities, coping strategies for just kind of like grounding yourself, but then also just conversation about like stuff that's going on. So if it's just talking about music or like TV shows or self-care practices, things like that, I think trying to encourage just people to stay in touch, especially if they don't feel connected to people right now. So the invite is also on our Instagram account that you can access. Or you can just call our office and we'll hook you up with that.
It's cool because people are joining every day, I think. There are more and more people.
Yeah, it's been growing, which is nice.
Do you have to have a Laker app account to join?
So in order to join, you just have to submit that you have an Oswego email address. Your account can be connected to a different one, but as long as you put in the welcome screen that you have the Oswego address.
One of the last things on that duality thing, though, was talked about missing family and friends. So we're going to miss family and friends. We're going to miss things the way they used to be, touching base and that kind of stuff. But we can also choose to understand that this is just something that's needed right now in our country, in our states, in our communities, and that physical distance is it's just, they're saying that's the safest and best thing for us. I'm glad that our houses aren't blown down by tornadoes and, hurricanes and things like that. But this is equally as important to stay safe and to come back from. We need to do that together. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a new normal in town.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there is like a sense of safety in practicing that way, and if anything, I feel like it'll make us really appreciate like the moment when we get to actually be with people again, in a way that I don't think we've been able to. Like we always take it for granted, and I think this is the first time where it's really becoming widespread. You're in your own space.
Can you imagine opening day at SUNY Oswego next year? Oh my God.
I know. Yes, and I think a lot of people are like longing for that already. So
yeah, it'll be such a nice feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
I saw this cute T-shirt though. Before you go, it was a Buddha sloth, or a Zen sloth, and it said "Namaste, 6 feet away."
That's awesome.
I think that's now I'm gonna stay. Now I'm gonna stay 6 feet away.
No. That's awesome.
It was really cute. I want that T-shirt.
Yeah, that's amazing. Perfect. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out to do this, and hopefully we can continue the conversation. And if there's other ideas that you're interested in, feel free to let us know, and we'll kind of figure out how this can grow and maybe what we can do with it creatively. So
yeah, that would be great. We love new ideas.
Yeah, I'm excited. So
all right, till next time, peoples.
All right. Well, yes.
Until tomorrow morning, Kyle.
Yeah. Stay safe, stay healthy, and
peace out.